Hey, what's up, Vince?
What's up, BZM?
How are you doing, sir? The great Vince Wilburn Jr., drummer extraordinaire, nephew of Miles Davis. Good to see you back. Took a little bit of a break last week, and we are back. And if you see Vince Wilburn on your screen, and if you see Brian Zimmerman, executive editor of Jazz Magazine, on your screen, it can only mean one thing. It's Miles Monday.
It's
Our
Miles
favorite day,
Monday.
our favorite day of the week, the day we celebrate all things Miles Davis, the man, the myth, the legend, his legacy. That's what we're doing today. And I'm excited for today's guest because he's a great musician. He's a great musician, man. He makes beautiful music. He makes uplifting music. He makes spiritual music, and that is something that is so needed right now. We're talking about the great Richard Howell, of course.
And his
Richard
son
Howell,
is a monster on the drums too, B. We're gonna talk about that. A
so
monster.
I've heard. So
Hey, B,
I've heard.
before we start, man, thank you for giving love to my pops on his birthday last Monday.
Absolutely welcome, man.
Yeah,
Absolutely
yeah.
welcome.
Thank
May
you.
his memory be a blessing. And yeah, a good reason to take the week off and kind of reflect. But like I said, we are back with a bang with Richard Howell. This cat is from the Bay Area. At least he lives there now and has played with everybody: pop, soul, jazz, Etta James, BB King, Chaka Khan. I was just watching today a video of him playing with Carlos Santana, turning it out to, I believe it was God Bless the Child, and just banging. I mean, funky, soulful, amazing stuff. And so we're going to be talking to him about, of course, his life in music, his new album that he has out right now, Moon Over Tiburon. And of course, his most important credential for the day, that would be his love for Miles Davis. So, Vince, without further ado, what do you say we welcome Richard Howell on the Miles Monday?
Let's do it.
Richard.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you.
You are very welcome, man. Thanks for doing this.
It's my pleasure. Absolutely my pleasure.
I appreciate it. What have you been up to aside from releasing a new album? And this new album kind of came out recently, right?
Came out last Tuesday.
Yeah. Wow. Brand new.
Brand new. Yes.
And it's a cool album because you revisit one of your most popular songs ever on there. That would be We'll Come Together, right?
We Are All Connected.
We Are All Connected. Yes,
yeah.
yes. Which has been performed all over the place. I think even at the White House.
Yeah.
Very popular song.
It got there. Yeah. It got there.
Very cool.
So
was that
Obama? Obama administration.
That's right. You should clarify.
Right.
That's right. So were you putting this album together over the course of these lockdowns, this era of social distancing? Wow. What was that like?
Yes. Mask,
all
of that. Yeah. Sanitary, staying clean, staying positive.
Wow.
Taking risk.
Yeah, man.
Gambling.
Yeah.
Gambling.
Paid off because it's a beautiful album available now for streaming purchase. And like we always tell everybody, now's the time to purchase these albums. Let's support the artists that are making the music that are getting us through these tough times. So yeah, man. Mentioned you were in the Bay Area, and Vince and I were talking a little bit about this before. That's not where you grew up, right?
Well, I grew up in Southern California, but I was born in Cleveland, Ohio. Born in Cleveland. Came out here when the migration, and we went west. And grew up in Los Angeles area.
Okay.
Then later went further east in a city called Pomona.
Gotcha. Now coming up in LA, was that where you were getting into jazz? Was that with the whole It's Central Avenue, right out there? That is kind of like
in that area. Yeah, absolutely. Watts in that area. Yeah, Watts.
Very cool. Very cool. And who were the kind of musicians that put you on the path toward jazz? I imagine Miles.
Absolutely, Miles Davis.
Yeah.
Absolutely, Miles Davis. Without a shadow of a doubt, Miles Davis, John Coltrane, Cannonball Adderley, Charles Tolliver, Horace Silver. The list goes on and on and on. The Cats. Lenny White. The Cats. Freddie Hubbard.
Yeah.
I was listening to them all. But in my home with my parents, it was like a prerequisite and a requirement to listen to Count Basie. So I had to deal with Count Basie every single day, and like every day. It's like, and I say that and I say that affectionately. And you deal with Count Basie because in my household you kind of had to listen to it, and it was a wonderful experience, a wonderful epiphany. I was listening to a lot of Count Basie growing up, And I used to say, man, that old folks music, man, I'm tired of listening to it because my father. And then I went and saw Basie, and man, I cried. I never saw a band swing so hard in my life,
That's the
ever,
thing.
ever.
Yeah.
To this day,
Yeah.
the band swung hard, and I was
That's
like,
just
how they do that? How do they do it?
They define swing, man.
Man,
Still, like you say, still.
yes, to this day,
Yeah.
I've never heard anyone swing as hard as a Count Basie band.
Yeah.
Were
Shout
your
out to
parents
Scotty.
musical?
Scotty
Yeah,
Scotty Barnhart.
Barnhart, who's still running
Yeah.
the Basie band.
Yes,
Still
Carmen
swinging
Bradford.
hard.
That's
Still
right. That's
swinging
right.
hard. Yep.
That's right.
Sorry,
right.
B.
That's all right. I was just going to ask, if Basie was always on the house. Were your parents musical? Were they musicians?
Well, my father was a musician in his youth, and when he got married, he decided he wasn't going to be a musician full time. But what he did is that he kept instruments around. He played baritone sax in like a couple of big bands when he was growing up, and he toured and all of that. And then he got married, got very very involved in civil rights. And then he decided that he was just going to, not play, but he had the baritone saxophone there. He bought drum sets, he brought pianos, he brought basses. Everything was sitting in the house for us to play. And he always talked about the music. In fact, he's the cat that turned me on to Miles and Train and everybody, because he was always proud. He was absolutely proud of the accomplishments of the African Americans and that played that music. So that's kind of where his head was.
Beautiful, man. Beautiful, man.
Yeah.
Vince, you had a question?
But Rich, he didn't force it on you though, right? He didn't force it on you. He didn't force the instruments on you guys. Not force for lack of better. Like you got to do this. You got to. I want you guys to play this.
No. There's a funny.
It was organic.
Absolutely organic.
Ahead,
there's a funny story about someone who said that I forced music on my youngest son, Eli, and I thought to do it at age 3, this dude's transcribing and singing John Coltrane melodies. I don't think you can force that on anybody.
Right now.
At 3 years old.
At 3 years old. So basically, what my father did was just expose us to that music. You're around the music all the time. What do? You decide to become an architect or you play music.
Right.
One of the things I love, Richard, when you
Yes.
since you brought up your son Eli, who's an incredible, fiery young cat on the drums. And then we'll get back to you. But
Sure.
how did it happen where you started taking him around at a young age to clubs, right?
Absolutely.
Can you elaborate on that for us, please?
Well, when he was like, the first day, I knew the first day, like popping out of the womb, I was like, oh, this dude is something.
You
different.
felt it. You felt it.
Oh,
Okay.
absolutely.
Mhm.
He had the vibe of, man, everything's gonna be fine. Just chill, Pop.
Mhm.
And it gives me goose pimples right now when I think about that. But when he was like, just say 8 to 9 months, one of my dear friends was a percussionist, Ron Streeter, and instead of giving him rattles and stuff like that, we gave them those real LP drums, those little small conga drums,
Right,
and just
right.
set it in front of him, man. And he'd hit it and he'd play the tone and we'd play with it. And that would keep him busy for, an hour or so. And then an interesting thing, like living in the hood where I grew up, the car alarms would go off. He would be grooving with the car alarm.
Swinging it. Yeah.
Just
Wow.
swinging, man. So
Wow.
yeah, he was just around it all the time, man. And then when he became of age, like 2 or 3, I knew he was playing, and I would just took him all the gigs, and then the studio.
Wait. Of age 2 or 3.
I would take him to my gigs.
No, I love it.
Yeah.
I'm not making light of it. I love it because I know the story because you shared it, before.
Right.
For our audience, man, that's incredible.
Yeah. You just take them to the gigs and take them to the sessions. And I was in the studio last week a couple of weeks ago at Hyde Street, and the engineer brought his daughter, and she was sitting on the couch, and he went over to her and said, I love this couch. I used to live in this couch on this couch. He said, I've been to a whole lot of sessions, and some of them weren't that great.
Yeah. You dig that?
Yeah.
That's
go ahead, B.
Well, I was just going to say, what struck me again, watching you and your son kind of come up in this music and the way that you did with your parents, especially as it was tied to, you mentioned your dad was involved in civil rights, which I think is so important, for a young musician to see how this music is intertwined with that movement,
Absolutely.
Was your father involved in local demonstrations? Was he, to what extent was he doing things in LA, in the Bay Area?
Well, my father was somewhat of a black nationalist. That's kind of what he was. It was interesting around my house. Every black nationalist or anybody who's involved in anything came to my house.
Right.
The Pan-Africans came to my house. Africans came to my house. Us came to our house. The Nation of Islam came to my house. They all came and they spoke to my father. Whatever my father was doing, he had a lot to say. Wow. And that's kind of how my house was. It buzzed with a lot of people. And the ignorant thing about me and my brother, when the Africans came, we would giggle at them. Well, we didn't know,
Right.
They would come and say, "Hey, buddy, is your father home? I want to speak to your father." And we start, "Man, where'd this guy come from?"
Right.
And his feet is ashy.
Right.
Okay. But that's what was in my household. There was a lot of stuff going on, and we were on the outside. It's like, son, you guys need to stay outside because there's some people. Ron Karinga came to the house.
Right.
I mean, it was Malcolm X came to the house. It was a heavy house. It was a heavy house.
Incredible.
But how old were you when you kind of realized what was going on? Yeah. How old were you when you did that, Richard? When you realized the power of your dad?
I don't know. Probably say 9 or 10. 9 or 10. So he didn't have time to play music. That's kind of what that was about. But he did.
Gotcha.
He did keep the instruments there, and he was definitely proud of what we were doing, and proud of he was proud of Miles. He definitely was proud of Miles, the way he stood up for himself.
Right.
Yeah. Because my grandfather was the same way, Richard. Miles' dad.
Yeah.
One of the first African American to go to dental school at Northwestern University in Evanston, in Illinois. Drove a Jaguar when you couldn't drink out of a water fountain back in those days. You know what I mean?
Right.
And all his brothers were badasses.
Yeah.
They didn't take no shit.
And knowing that about my father, and then knowing that about someone that he introduced me to that did the stuff that I was craving to do. I wanted to play some music. I picked up the trumpet. That didn't work for me, but I picked up almost everything else. But having someone that wasn't that very influential in the political arena that played music was absolutely wonderful for me. Right. But this guy stands up for himself, and I loved it.
Yes. And I ask, we're just seeing echoes of that, now, especially, how jazz is kind of becoming a mouthpiece for so many.
Like the younger cats like Christian Scott and these guys, they speak up, man. Yeah. And I love it. I love it.
And Christian comes from a rich family of New Orleans and the big chiefs. Donald Harrison.
Right.
And Donald's father,
Right.
We got this thing called Lenny's Loft, B.
Yeah.
And that's how I met Richard. I think I met Eli before.
Yeah.
But B, it's about 30 of some of the people on Lenny's Loft is Charles Tolliver, Ron Carter, Gary Bartz, Richard. I mean, it's
Buster
like
Williams,
Buster, and it's like incredible. And I'm just there listening a lot of times. But Richard and I got, in the Loft, you tune in, you vibe, I used to think Richard was from Chicago because coming up in Chicago, Richard was like a brother that I knew that would eat at the health food restaurants and play with the AACM,
Right. Okay.
And it was deep. We just vibed each other.
Right.
Yeah.
And the way he talks about his son, I mean, we need more of that. And it's so it's such a proud relationship, and proud the way he shares it, And that's, I mean, my dad didn't play sax, or my dad didn't play music, but he was proud. He used to take me to my gigs. I couldn't drive and sit at the club and sit at the bar, and and I think any of us, it doesn't matter what race you are, but when you have parents who encourage you, and support you, because a lot of my friends, their parents didn't support them, it didn't encourage them to play music, but they turned out okay. But damn, you know what I mean? it would mess with their heads.
Well, one of the things that I said, I would take them to gigs, but I also take them to other people's performances, and I would take them to, he saw. There's a great picture of him at age 3 with Elvin Jones. It's a great photo because he's like in it, but he's him and Elvin. He's like sitting there doing this with this expression. It's beautiful, man. And I would do stuff like that. I would make him take a nap. And then, hey man, we're hitting it. You going out with me, man. We're going to the shows. And I was doing that so much to when Charles Lloyd and Billy Higgins were playing, he had to stop and he said, "Hey, look, there's a brother here that's taking his kids to the music." He said, "There's a cat out here that has his son out here listening to this music. Y'all need to do that. You need to come out and do this." And 2 weeks later, Yoshi's had a matinee program.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful thing. Yeah. Intergenerational jazz.
Yeah. Hey, Rich, Brian, my dad took out a loan to get my first drum kit. A $600 loan from Household Finance Company in Chicago.
Wow.
And when he went to get the check, he took me. And he got the check and he was so happy and he showed it to me. And I said, "Hey, Dad, that's a good friend to have, huh?" And he started cracking up because I didn't know, I didn't know what a finance company was. And,
right.
He started busting up laughing, man. And then we went to this drum shop and I got a kit, But hey, man, I commend you.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. And you could hear it in Eli's playing. And Eli's on the record, right?
Oh yeah.
The new one?
On all your recordings.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. That's him tearing it up, mashing it up.
Very
I
good.
mean, hey, B, not just some okay for a kid drumming. These got some other shit. Oh,
no, I heard. Hey, absolutely, man.
Some other stuff. Really, Richard. Really, and hey, man, thank you.
I'm blessed. He's blessed.
Yeah.
I have 4 other children that but he's absolutely blessed, man. He's he spent some time in Senegal, and when he was 11. Played in the village with some drummers.
Yeah.
He's been able to travel. He's been to Africa probably 3 times. I don't think I know any kid that was in the States usually that's been to Africa and been around the music. So there's some special things that he has, and I kept him a kid. That was the cool part about it.
Check the parallels, man. Check the parallels. Africans came to see your dad.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And then your son goes to Africa.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
and because, Rich, I mean, you were kind of on the forefront of as world music and jazz, were first kind of, shaking hands, so to speak. You were kind of on the forefront of that scene. Did that come from, again, just your family or being on the West Coast? And, especially LA, where you were exposed to just so much more music.
Well, I think it came always from my father.
Yeah.
I think that's always the root of everything. My father he'd have recordings of African tribal music, like National Geographic type stuff, or, back in the day when they take the Nagra, the real little machines and go in, and this is an African is an African ceremony. And then,
field recordings.
Some field reporting. And he had copies of that kind of stuff. And we'd listen to it.
Wow.
And, at first we'd crack up. We would laugh at it. And then we'd listen to it and go, man, this is some really cool stuff. And we find something in it that we thought was really cool. And then, we put it on again. I mean, there's stuff that I can remember to this day, that I've actually played and put into some of the music. It's part of who I am. I put it in my own music, there's like Akumba se, Akumba, siye, Akumba se, Akumba, siye, and then you had this other altar, and that's from a tribal record.
Yeah. Wow.
You can't hear it anywhere.
Yeah. From a field recording. That is very Milesian, if you ask me.
Absolutely.
Because he had the ability to just listen. Vince was telling me about Miles going to Madison Square Garden and listening to the squeak of the basketball court, and that becomes a rhythm. That becomes a groove,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I know obviously John Coltrane had a big effect on you too, because you did the Love Supreme tribute project.
Right.
Tell me about, what it was like hearing saxophone before Coltrane and then hearing Coltrane, what that moment was like.
Was there saxophone before Coltrane? Oh, yeah.
No. Yeah, it was. Of course it was.
I don't know how let's see, before Coltrane. Well, I love listening to Hank Crawford. I love listening to Gigi Rice.
Yeah.
Art Pepper. What was it? Of course, we listened to Charlie Parker.
Bird, yeah.
I don't know. And then there was Marshall Royal from all the big band stuff. But my father turned me on to Train. I mean, he just listened to Train. It was Equinox. He heard Equinox and he dug it.
Yeah.
And the rest of the album, it wasn't for him because he didn't hear the harmonies. He didn't hear the big band harmonies. And I'm cool with that. And
Right.
He says,
okay.
And he hands me he says, "Hey man, I think you would like this album." And I'm like, I just fell in love with it.
Yeah.
And from there, I went on to, discover that, Kind of Blue. There's Miles on, there's Train on there. And then, there's Miles. And my father would play, Miles Smiles. He had Round Midnight. He had all those, Sketches in Spain. He had all those albums. So, that was all there. I'm flipping around, but that was all there for me. But then, like I said, he laid Train on me.
Right.
And that was like, whoa. That's deep.
Turned your upside down. Yeah.
Turned my world upside down.
Yeah. Absolutely, man. Did you ever get a chance to meet Miles?
I got some stories for you.
Okay.
I've always wanted to play with Miles.
Okay.
I've always wanted to play with Miles. I saw Miles at Shelley's Manhole with the band with Gary Bartz, Keith Jarrett, Airto,
Jack
DeJohnette,
Right.
Henderson.
Michael Henderson.
Okay.
Henderson. Did I miss anybody? I saw that band and I said, I want to play in this band. That was, I'm 19, 20, 19, maybe 18 even. Okay, fast forward. I'm on tour. I'm in Nice, south of Nice, and I'm playing with Etta James. And we were on the same tour. So I played, I seen Miles on at all the George Wein festivals everywhere. We're all playing.
What year, Richard?
It's in the 90s.
Okay.
I played they were recurring. I was with Etta for almost 6 years.
Because it might have been the 80s, no? Because he passed away in 91, and I think we did gigs.
Late 80s, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Because
late.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Early
late 80s. Yeah.
Late 80s.
Well, he passed away in 91, so it had to be like
late 80s.
Yeah. Okay.
Late 80s. So I'm at Nice at the Nice Festival having myself a blast, and I met this gorgeous lady, and I'm hanging out till 4:00 in the morning. 4:00 in the morning. Miles had played the night previous. I'm coming in 4:00, to the hotel, and I'm with this lady, who had shown me around, and Miles is sneaking out to get out ahead of the crowds.
Okay.
So he's coming out, and I go, wow, there's Miles Davis. I want to meet Miles Davis. So I walk up to Miles and I say, Miles, and I had my little camera. I said, Miles, can I take a picture with you? He said, no, man, that ain't gonna happen. And the girl I was with, she said, Miles, could you take a picture? Could you take a picture? She said, come here, baby.
Shot you down, but took one with her.
That's right.
I loved it. And I thought to myself, it's all right.
Well, that hotel in
Yeah.
Nice, that's where everybody stayed, right? The hotel in Nice.
Right
on the right on the water.
Right on the water.
Yeah.
And he was sneaking out early in the morning, like 4:00 in the morning.
Okay.
Well, hey, if you get snubbed by anybody, might as well be Miles Davis.
Exactly. That's exactly how I felt.
Yeah.
Then, can I share another one?
Absolutely.
I had a wonderful opportunity to spend an evening with Dizzy Gillespie and chow and chat with him. And I saw him a couple of times, and when I'd see him, he would greet me and be really, really friendly with me. And I was in Den Haag backstage.
Okay.
And I'm standing there, and I saw I saw Dizzy, and Dizzy, so I thought saw me, and he starts walking towards me. Dizzy's walking toward me with a great big smile on his face, man. And I'm like about ready to pull my hand out and grab that brother and shake him. And standing right behind me was Miles Davis. And they walked right past, he walked right past me, embraced, and Miles looked at me like, who is this nigga here?
Oh
Wow,
man,
wow,
2 for
wow.
2 on the snubs with Miles.
it was hilarious, man. I was like, it's like slow motion, about to grab Diz, and Miles and he just walks right past, and Miles was standing right next to me,
Wow.
right behind me.
And Dizzy had a big old smile on his face.
Big smile, man.
Yeah.
And then and the embracing is like, who is this cat's in our way?
Right.
Wow.
But you have played with cats who have played with Miles.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
Lots of cats. Lots of cats.
Yeah.
Lots of cats.
So, you've gotten the stories, you've seen firsthand, because I think how he runs a band and how he treats a bandstand recording studio definitely trickles down to the people he's played with. That's been a theme on this show. It's just, people have played with Miles. They learn, kind of through osmosis, just how he ran a bandstand or a recording studio and how to keep a band together. Something which definitely applies to you, with sudden changes. So,
well, I had that osmosis because he was standing next to me. So that made me feel, man, that really made me feel good. Just I share one more thing that absolutely made me so much proud. It made me so proud.
Yeah.
I'm leaving. Well, there's two stories, but I'll share another story. We're leaving Nice.
Okay.
And we're at the airport, and Bonnie Raitt passes me by and says,
"Okay,
Richard, how are you?" Okay. That's my story I want to share with her. And I'm like, Bonnie, how are you? I don't even know. I never met Bonnie Raitt, but that was interesting that she did that. Richard, how are you? Okay.
Huh.
So she's gone. I just wanted to throw that one in. So we're heading toward our flight. Miles shows up. The airport stops.
Okay.
Everybody stops. Miles, little kids. Miles Davis. It stops.
I believe it.
Man, that was a proud moment for me. Believe me, that was a proud moment. I said, man, look at this brother coming here, and everybody stops and points. And he just kept walking through the airport. They were turning around, dropping bags, flipping up beside themselves. There was Miles Davis walking through the airport.
As a power of Miles Davis, in the 80s, 90s, a jazz musician, it's like so rare that anyone would achieve just that. Everybody in the room stops, jaws drop, people notice.
Man, I stood 10 foot tall. I swear I did. I was so proud of that. It's like, look at that, man. That would not happen in the United States. But that's a whole nother story. No. But that happened right there in the south of France.
Richard, playing with Uncle Miles was like, it's the equivalent to the biggest rock and roll band in the world. Mm-hmm. We always headline all the concerts in Europe and in the States. And everybody would stick around, like the festivals, everybody wanted to hear Miles at the end. Right. So they would all stick around, but he wouldn't let anybody backstage, just close friends like Dizzy or Max or something like people like that. But when we would finish the concert and he was on his way to his car, right, to the limo, you can see everybody just part, like you said. And just some cats were bowing, out of respect and love, not you know what I mean. But I witnessed that. It was so incredible, man.
Yeah.
Did you sample a cat? Did you sample a cat?
I'm hearing a cat. I'm hearing.
It's not me. I can promise you that. Richard,
Yeah.
when did you start Sudden Changes? When did that group come together?
2015, I think.
Okay.
Was one of the configurations. I mean, I've had a couple
Yeah.
configurations of that group.
Yeah.
I actually started it, I think, I was going to say in Europe, but I did actually. I started here in San Francisco at the time. Yeah.
And who are the original musicians in that group?
Ooh, I had a group of it switched. I had an all African band at one point, and I called it Sudden Changes. So some cats from Senegal, some cats from Benin, one cat from South Africa.
Yeah.
Which was that was one of the configurations of sudden changes.
Wow.
The modern one is 215. It was Ile at age 15, I believe.
Wow.
Charles McNeil, Danny Armstrong, Frederick Harris, and Mark Williams was the bassist at the time.
Very cool. Shout out to
Yeah. Eli studied with Lenny, right? Lenny White, your son.
When he got to NYU, yeah.
Okay.
But yeah,
Lenny just gave us a shout out. He said, "I think Miles was bigger than. I think he was bigger than that. He was on par with Picasso."
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Lenny just
Absolutely.
We agree, Lenny. Yeah,
absolutely.
we agree.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Most definitely. Yeah. I mean, there's some beautiful music. You know, you mentioned that the first iteration of Sudden Changes was all African musicians. And, you know, at the moment, there's some beautiful jazz coming out of Africa right now with pianists Nduduzu Makatini.
Yes.
You know, there's just a lot of, and I've actually been able to go. I went to South Africa for the Joy of Jazz Festival there. And the music is cherished, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
And,
Absolutely.
We had a private screening of the Birth of the Cool in Cape Town, right? But it wasn't in a cinema. It was this guy had a makeshift theater, you know, and in a park, right?
Right.
And you know, it was glitching because he was running it off a laptop, but you know, it was cool. We were chilling. I was watching it with these brothers, right? Screening, and then we had a Q&A. And after the documentary in South Africa, in Cape Town, the brothers were crying.
Yeah.
I mean, crying like babies. Like,
you
know, they were so moved by the documentary.
I saw Hugh Masekela there. You know, I had the privilege and honor to see him kind of in the final years of his life, you know, play in South Africa and talk about crime. And that was like one of the most moving experiences. You know, a huge crowd, everybody just on their feet, not a butt in the seat. It was, you know, really emotional, really emotional.
Well, that is the thing about the African audiences. I love a quote from Hugh Masekela, but I was in Burkina Faso and Mali and a few West African countries performing and playing jazz, and people were on their feet.
Yes.
They were on their feet.
Which you don't necessarily see here, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And when Hugh Masekela played, I played this thing called the Port Fest here, and with and Hugh Masekela was one of the artists there, and when he was performing, he played his music, and it was rocking, man. And we were sitting here kind of grooving, and people did not get up. And he stopped and he says, "Well, where I come from, we don't waste the music." And I love that line. We don't waste the music. You must get up.
Yeah.
You know, but I shouldn't have to tell you, but you must get up.
Yeah.
You know.
And they got up.
And they got up. Hey man, I've seen videos of me taking some out solo in Africa, and people are
Yes.
Yeah.
No, that's cool.
It was absolutely very.
Yes, sir.
I have a question. When you start a project, how do you go about it? I mean, do you envision it before you start it, and do you get your personnel, or what's the process?
Take the new one as an example. We could take Tiburon, Moon Over Tiburon.
Yeah, tell us your process. You know, without giving out your secret sauce.
Well, well, the secret sauce is that it varies from project to project. I have a radio in my head. I have melodies that are nonstop. It's a bless and it's a curse at the same time, because sometimes I just can't turn it off. You know, I'll be sitting here thinking, and you know, I can come up with a melody as we speak. So sometimes I just sit down at the piano and I start, you know, singing or playing and singing some parts. That's one of the processes. I play bass, so I'm a bassist as well. So I sit down. Sometimes I just like playing bass grooves that have vocal type melodies to them. You know, I'm coming from a pop sensibility as well. I'm always looking for a hook, you know, a strong hook to anchor a song. I mean, sometimes if you really pay close attention, there's hooks within the groove, you know, that which I'm trying to, which I try to come to, what I try to place. As far as personnel, I just have my favorite cats that I want to be around. You know, that's kind of how that works. Frederick Harris is a phenomenal pianist that I just love being in the room with, and a beautiful human being. So that's one of the cats that I like to play music with. And then I've kind of raised my favorite drummer at the moment. There's there's a bunch of drummers that I love, and I've been able to play with a whole bunch of great cats. But you know, the drummer that I raised, I love playing with him because I love his energy. So I built a couple of bands around his energy.
Right.
So that's you know, like Miles did with Tony.
Yeah.
So it's the same kind of concept, you know.
So you compose around Eli, in a sense. No,
I don't compose around him, but I put groups around him. And basically, you know,
young energy.
I do kind of take an example of Duke Ellington, where he says he kind of writes for each particular musician. You know, I hear certain cats and how they play, and I try to put music in, develop music so that they can take it and go with it.
Yeah.
You know, and it's always a wonderful and beautiful surprise how the cats that I gather, you know, come up with the interpretations of my music.
Richard, you spent, as you mentioned, you know, some formative years in the Bay Area. Was that when you first crossed paths with another famous lover of Miles Davis, Carlos Santana?
How did I cross paths with Carlos? Interesting. I kept bumping into Carlos on a couple of occasions. Like I actually went up and saw him at a rehearsal and asked him to play with him, and he told me no. So that was like the first.
This was in San Francisco.
That was my first encounter. And then I saw him a third time, and he said almost the same thing. But then I had an opportunity to play with him in Europe a couple of times when he had Dennis Chamber playing drums. And then Narda Michael Walden had a Christmas festival and had some performances, and he would hire Carlos, and I got an opportunity to be a part of that scene.
Gotcha.
So yeah.
Very cool. Another guy on the forefront, kind of expanding, you know, in his case, pop and rock, incorporating sounds, Latin American sounds, you know, in his case. And we've had him on this show, just a devotee of Miles Davis and John Coltrane.
Carlos is fearless, man. He's another fearless cat.
Yeah, absolutely. You know? Absolutely.
He sat in with us at Giant Stadium in an Amnesty concert. You know,
that's right. There's footage of that.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah. So it was a privilege and an honor to be a part of.
Because he used to live in San Rafael, right, Rich?
He lived in San Rafael.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. Cool. Well, Richard, what is going on? As we mentioned, the new album is out, Moon Over Tiburon. You can stream it. You can buy it now. What are you working on at the moment? I know it's tough. It's especially out here in California.
I Love Supreme.
Yeah.
I Love Supreme. I just finished working on I Love Supreme.
Okay. Beautiful.
The entire album.
Wow. Okay. So, and when is that going to drop?
I'm gonna use a phrase from Eddie Harris. Eddie Harris says, I need y'all to buy my other record before I tell you about my other one.
There you go. Moon Over Tiburon. Is that? But are we looking at like a shot for shot remake type thing?
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah. Very cool. Well, all right. Hey, we got that.
It's done. It's in
the can.
Yeah.
Exciting, man. Looking forward to that. In the meantime, we got Moon Over Tiburon with, again, that beautiful tune. We Are All Connected. Is that you singing?
That's me singing. Yeah.
Do we have a copy of the cover, Jeff?
We can probably get it.
Yeah. Let people know. It's killing.
Absolutely.
Let me share something at the moment. If you guys got time.
Please. Go right ahead. Yep.
I am I'm taking a risk gambling. What I'm doing is I'm offering my music on my website, richardhowellandsuddenchanges.com. And it's been a wonderful experience so far. People are going to my website and purchasing the music. I chose not to put it on Spotify. I chose not to do the iTunes. I chose not to do any of that. And we'll see how long I'm going to do that. But at the moment, people are actually coming to my website, logging on and listening.
Yeah.
And then they're purchasing.
Yeah, because that's what you do. That's great. You can listen to a little bit of. You get a little bit of a taste.
Yep.
Right.
And once they purchase, then I'm creating you want to call it a fan base, but there's a personal touch to it.
Right.
So I get to talk to people, and I think during this time, this is what we need. We need some type of personal touch, and I've always kind of been on the cutting edge of all kinds of things. I mean, it's just kind of how I am. I actually started streaming music way before iTunes. That's a whole nother story on another time.
There you go.
And I got a cease and desist order from Apple before they launched iTunes.
Wow.
Yeah.
You were just streaming it on your site or through?
I was using Apple. I was using QuickTime. We were using QuickTime. Remember QuickTime?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So we you know, one of the guys my business partner figured out a way to stream it, and we started streaming music and we were offering radio stations to all musicians on their own. And and so I always like to try to do some cutting edge things that are different. So what I'm doing is offering my music on my website, and much to my surprise, it's working. There are people who are buying I'm selling records every day, and people are and I get the chance to to write to them and talk to them and get their feedback.
That's amazing, man. And I think it might be the right bet. I think that could be the future of this music. Especially in this era where people are craving that, art connections to artists, and we're able to do that through creative approaches like this. You kind of buy the record and become part of this,
become part of my
family,
my extended family. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I have a lot to say, and coming from where I grew up, and I find that other people have wonderful and beautiful stories that they want to share. And I'm always looking for some of the beauty in this world. So that's kind of what I'm doing. I'm just trying to lift people up, man. That's what I'm doing.
Well, there's the new album, Moon Over Tiburon. There again, available for purchase on your site. That would be Richard Howell and suddenchanges.com, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
And we can put a link to that too on the webpage when we post this video. But hey, this has been a pleasure, Richard.
It's been mine as well.
Yeah, Richard.
You've got the music is amazing, and I look forward to whatever you got coming down the pike, man.
Thank you.
We always ask one last question at the end, which is after we.
I didn't do it.
Well, all right, then that's it.
It wasn't me. I'm listening.
Which is, after we hang up here, which Miles Davis album are you going to spin tonight?
Which one will I spin tonight? Probably Bitches Brew.
Okay, right on.
Spanish Key.
Yeah. Beautiful. Well, Richard, like I say, this has been a great conversation. Thank you so much. The new album, Moon Over Tiburon, is available on Richard's site, Richard Howell and suddenchanges.com. And again, we'll have a link to that site and to the album on our site, jazzes.com, when we post this video.
Brian, Vince, I'm grateful to you both.
Hey, Richard, you're not from Chicago? You sure?
Well, I spent time in Chicago.
And I'm so glad we didn't call you Richie today, because it would have been a whole nother interview. Hey, that blackness would have come out really. Your dad would have showed up there, right?
My father would have showed up. Yeah, maybe so.
Hey man, we love you, man.
Although I am going by Richie Riff sometimes. Richie Riff.
Riff.
Like the cartoon character.
Okay, right on, man. Yeah. Well, Richie Riff, appreciate it, man.
Hey, Richard, real quick, we wanted to do this show entirely with you, but composer Richard Gibbs wanted to come on, give his love.
Okay.
And Lenny White, of course, our brother.
Okay.
Is his love, man. So
Thank you.
But when you held that gun to my head and said don't let anybody on, then
No,
I thought about it.
Here's my take, man.
No, I'm joking. Go ahead.
No, I'm just gonna say that everybody has their day, and every once in a while, I think about the hard knocks and the struggles that I've had trying to keep this music alive, and I thought, you know what, I give a lot, and I'm gonna be quite honest. I give a lot to a lot of people, for a lot of reasons, for a lot of things, and people are gracious and kind enough to give to me. So I thought, you know what? Why don't I just say I want to do this by myself this time and not share this with everybody else? And there will people who love me and care for me will understand that.
Yeah, yeah. And you know I do. You know I
Yes.
love you. You
Yes.
know I love you, man.
Yes.
Love to your family too, man.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Thank you,
know?
Brian. Thank you, Vince. Thank you,
Thank you
brothers.
very
Both.
much, Richard.
All right.
Have a great day. So
Enjoy.
long.
Peace, Richard.
Peace.
Love.
All right, the great Richard Howell.
Man, that was beautiful.
That was fun, man.
Yeah,
that was fun.
Yeah,
the new album is amazing. The new album is great. I encourage everybody to go buy it. And I love what he's doing really with this site. And I've noticed some other musicians starting to do this, wherein when you buy the music, you know, you're subscribed for the newsletter, you have access to new parts of the site. It's like you're really joining this fan base or this fan club, and you're so connected to an artist through the music. So this could very well be the future of buying music, just like Richard is saying. And
he wanted to send it to me free, you know, and I said, no, man, I'm gonna support the cause and support the love and purchase it. And I did, you know, on his site. You
very
know,
cool.
Shout out to Richard Gibbs, man. Richard's on there on the chat. Richard, BZM will get you on, Richard.
There you go. We'll make
you
it
know,
happen.
Lenny, Machine Gun White. That's his nickname.
We
Hey,
will make-
BZM.
Yes.
Can we say happy birthday to my cousin who came on, John J.R. Harrison from Chicago?
Absolutely. Happy birthday to you.
He had the restaurant, Army Lou's, where I used to get the gumbo, right? And this is a long story, but somebody in that kitchen said, this shit ain't free, because they used to give me this big. I'm gonna leave it at that.
Hey, no such thing as a free lunch, Vince.
Yeah, no. And I would take this big plastic jar of gumbo on the plane to New York, you know. But I call him Nene. We love you, Nene. Yeah, man. JR.
Well, these Miles Mondays are free. They're available on Facebook and on YouTube. And if you're not a subscriber, please follow us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, hit the notification bell so that you know when we're going live. We do these every Monday. Just talk Miles Davis, and always great stories when it comes to Miles Davis.
Yeah,
so, and another great episode with Richard Howell. So, Vince, it's been a pleasure, man. I hope you have a great week, and I can't wait to do this again with you next week. In the meantime, check out milesdavis.com. Check out jazzes.com for a digital subscription. Our December issue is up right now. It's all about jazz in cinema, jazz in the movies. A really cool issue. Be sure to check that out.
Check out the Miles Davis store. Get you some of that merch, baby.
Yes, sir.
Right? Woo!
Love it.
Hey, BZM, can we
Yes.
get Richard Gibbs on? He's a badass.
We're going to make it happen.
Okay.
Badass
Richard, I'm going to call you after this.
All right, Vince.
What about Jeff? Thank you, Jeff.
Jeff, behind the scenes, producer Jeff.
Behind the scenes, man.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next week for another episode of Miles Monday.
BZM. Love you, brother.
You, Vince. Love you
Stay
too,
safe.
Man.
The numbers are up here. We're on lockdown in California.
Keep those masks, watch those hands.
Yeah. All right, brother.
All right, Vince.
Peace.
So long.